The Particular Way of the Odd Miss McKay, written by Daniel Errico and illustrated by Michiko Cayce. Say what you will or say what you may, there's nobody else who is like Miss McKay. To all whom she passes, she gives a good day, and she's ready with maps if you've been led astray. Her hair is bright orange with 2 streaks of gray, and her purse may be made out of flowers and clay, but her hugs have been known to go on for a day, and she wakes up each morning with something to say. She had her house built in a tree by the bay, and dangles a tire swing down every May. She's famous for making a carrot soufflé. She'll give you 5 boxes but won't let you pay. She only eats food that's served on a tray, and she doesn't use forks since they get in her way. She owns 7 horses and rides in a sleigh, and when she addresses them, it's with a neigh. She'll lend you her coat without any delay. She wove it from flowers and piles of hay. On Sundays, she puts on a purple beret, and never, not once, has she missed the ballet. Her voice is quite bad, but she sings every day. If she's holding her trumpet, don't ask her to play. I think you should meet her as soon as today, although if you stop by, she'll insist that you stay. So say what you will or say what you may, you'll remember the day that you met Miss McKay. The Island of Bumbumbuloo, written by Daniel Errico and illustrated by Courtney Jentzen. Have you sailed to the island of Bumbumbuloo? It's something that all great explorers must do. 10 years ago, I set off with my crew in search of the island of Bumbumbuloo. The waves on the sea made me wish that I flew to get to that island of Bumbumbuloo. The path on my map led us slightly askew, and we sailed every ocean before we were through. But when we arrived, it was then that I knew that all of the stories I heard must be true. The water surrounding it shone a bright hue, a magnificent color like no other blue. A sign made with vines held together by glue stood on the shore, reading, "We welcome you." The king had arranged for a great big to-do, and the queen herself shouted the loudest, "Woohoo!" The Bumbumbulites gave us bowls of their stew, which they made from the roots of the great bumbadoo. The food could have fed 702 at the feast on the island of Bumbumbuloo. Our drinks were quite tasty, a tropical brew. If you ask what was in them, I haven't a clue. They served us desserts made with bumberry goo, as we danced to the tune of the didgeridoo. We all thanked the king for the party he threw, of course not forgetting to thank the queen too. From their palace they showed us the wonderful view, and we saw all the fields where the bumberries grew. As gifts I gave both of them gumballs to chew. When they asked me for more, I had only a few. So we hopped on the ship where we kept a whole slew, but it got carried off when the northern wind blew. The island has waited to be found anew, while I search for someone to give the map to. And now I've decided to pass it to you, to discover the island of Bumbumbuloo. By the African river, known as the Nile, the sun fell away, and it rested a while. The rhinos had braved all the smoldering heat. They lay down to sleep as they wiped off their feet. The elephants marched to their elephant beds, and gently they rested their elephant heads. The hippos went bathing in cool, shallow pools, thinking the rhinos and elephants fools. Slowly the hippos sank into the river, the water so cold that it gave them a shiver. Hippos can't swim, like the pelicans think. They also can't float. They could easily sink. Underwater, they fell to the soft river bed, on darkish green plants, with a smidgen of red. They strolled on the bottom, then bounced up for air. They did it for hours, without any care. The fish followed closely, and wove in and out, under their belly and up to their snout. Each of the hippos came up to the shore, to feed on the grass by the river once more. They dried off their bodies by shaking and stomping, and took bites of grass, chewing and chomping. With night fading fast, they were full from the feast. The sun returned back, rising up from the east. The hippos crept off to collapse for the day, while rhinos and elephants got up to play, enjoying the warmth of the sun and its light, never knowing the story of hippos at night. Mr. McKay, the Winter Coat Thief, written by Daniel Errico and illustrated by Michiko Cayce. Mr. McKay is a fellow most strange. His hair and his mustache will magically change. He doesn't like dogs or other such beasts, and steals all the napkins from picnic feasts. You'll know that it's him from his lemon-lime eyes, unless he is wearing his sunglass disguise. Of course you could tell by his grassy green pants. They're made in the fall by a team of red ants. He lives in an igloo, which makes little sense, while 2 pet iguanas sleep outside in tents. In the morning he climbs up the dewy dug trees, then he lays on the grass where he talks to the bees. In the winter is when you must keep a keen eye to see if he's lurking or skipping nearby. For he'll take both his hands and he'll rub them together. He does it quite fast since they're light as a feather. He heats up the air, then he sends it your way, making you think it's an oddly warm day. But I warn you, my friends, do not fall for his ploy. He's after your coat in a manner quite coy. If you do take it off, he will rustle the leaves. You'll put down your coat and look up at the trees. And that's when he'll grab it, that winter coat thief, before you can notice the drop of one leaf. So it's best, in the winter, to leave your coat on, or else when you need it, you'll find that it's gone. The wolves in the woods grow as wild as trees. They do not say thank you. They do not say please. They roll in the dirt, and they chomp, and they growl. At nighttime, they look at the moon, and they howl. But Warren was different, the youngest wolf pup. He would not go howl. He would not look up. Instead, he ran back to his cave to go hide. And you would not believe what would happen inside. The brightest full moon would cause Warren to change from a furry young wolf to a creature most strange. His hair would grow short and run right to his head. His paws would spread out and form fingers instead. His snout would shrink down to a small little nub, while his ears became small, like a one-day-old cub. His teeth would unsharpen, like pieces of corn, and always, somehow, there were clothes to be worn. He'd stand on 2 legs and start walking around, and on his behind, not a tail to be found. His parents were shocked when they saw him transform. It certainly, wolfenly, wasn't the norm. Warren became a polite, quiet joy, for Warren, you see, was a dreaded Wereboy. He'd only eat sandwiches, without the crust. He didn't talk back. He preferred earning trust. They scratched at their heads when he cleaned up the cave. It wasn't how wolves had been taught to behave. His bedtime, he found, was just one tad too late, so he marched off to sleep without any debate. Instead of the floor, he would sleep on a bed, leaves for a blanket, and straw for his head. By morning he'd be a young wolf pup again. They all kept the secret together. But then, a pack celebration to honor Sinclair, the eldest of wolves with the whitest of hair. When it came time to howl, they all looked around, but the family of Warren was not to be found. They came to the cave and asked why they had hid, and that's when they saw him, a kid. "A wereboy!" they shouted. "What do we do?" "Don't get too close, or then you'll catch it too." Warren sat patiently, reading his books, but somehow that made them give wolfier looks. His parents objected. "There's nothing to fear. Everyone changes, each one of us here. Warren's the wolf that you all knew before. It's just that he happens to be that
and more. Sinclair stepped ahead, with his scraggly knees. "Excuse me," he creaked, with a cough and a wheeze. "I have just the test, and will know the truth soon. All wolves, be they true, howl up at the moon." So the pack gathered round, and they brought him outside, and Warren did something he hadn't yet tried. He lifted his head, and he puffed out his chest, looked straight at the moon, and he gave it his best, and from inside his heart, where it lay all along, came not a howl, but a beautiful song. Soon, one by one, all the wolves sat to listen, until morning dew on the grass came to glisten. His parents, Sinclair, and the wolves from his pack watched the sun change him from Wereboy to back, and they saw him, this time, as they had not before, a wolf and a boy, and forever much more.